What you're looking at here is the foundation of our tiny house. It was built by a trailer builder about an hour away, and here he is delivering it. And there it is, sitting in our backyard. The ground that it's sitting on is sloping gently from left to right in this photo, so the first step is to use jack stands to get the trailer level, like a foundation should be. But the uphill side, I had to dig a trench underneath the wheels so that it wouldn't be too high off the ground. And then when you finally get the whole thing level, it is super satisfying. Look at that. The next step is to line the trailer with basically a big metal pan so that no rodents can get up from underneath. And here's Charlotte demonstrating the little wooden bender we made for this aluminum flashing. And here's how we're bending the 90-degree edges. And you'll see the sheet goods here. Here's me making a bend in the end. This is our first big piece that we're trying to fit in. And I'm bending over the corner flap there, and then we're gonna slide it in to the corner. And then here's Clara and I working on the other big piece. That plywood underneath is really just supporting the metal. That won't be there once we glue it into place. You'll see that in a minute. Cutting that strip to length. Clara's making the final bends there. Snip the corner, bend up the top, bend it over, and look at that. And now here is Charlotte and me again, gluing down the pieces. You can see the plywood's gone, and you can now see that those three pieces of metal are going to create a pan underneath the whole tiny house so that no rodents can gnaw their way through the wood and that everything's just sealed up nicely. Charlotte taking off the sweater, getting down to business. And then that had a bunch of leaves on it, so we had to clean that off. And here goes the last piece. Bang! The next layer over the aluminum sheathing is going to be a layer of 1/2-inch plywood, and here's Charlotte cutting the first piece. She was proud of herself, but right after this cut, I made sure she put her hair in a ponytail so it wasn't hanging down. There's the last piece going in, and that's exciting. Then it's off to the floor joists. Now, the trailer is 20 feet long, and I did not have lumber long enough, so we decided to join two pieces of lumber with something called a scarf joint. This was not entirely necessary, but I really like the idea of being able to run the joists from one end of the trailer all the way to the other without having to overlap them in the middle. So, the scarf joint is great. It's not structurally sound, but it's supported by several girders underneath. And there's the pattern we used to cut them out. And there's what they look like lying in the tiny house. Then, of course, a tiny house on a trailer needs to be bolted to the trailer. So there are about 40 bolts holding the wood portions of the house to the metal portions of the trailer. And each one is installed, as you see here. And here's a picture of one underneath. And then it was time to take a little break and do a fun project. So I made these little picnic tables for the squirrels in our yard. And then we got back to the tiny house project, and here's the edge piece bolted down. That's going to be the exterior wall limit. And once we had that in, it was time to put in some insulation. Here's Jenna doing that work right there. We decided to use rock wool insulation because it is a fire retardant and it is not something that critters like. So the floor is insulated with rock wool. So that should keep the floor nice and warm. And here's Jenna screwing down the 3/4 inch tongue and groove subfloor, which is fun because all of a sudden you're standing on the thing that you have built. And once we got it all covered, we stood back and looked, and we're proud of our achievement. If you want more info, there's a whole blog linked in the comments, and you can go take a look at all the processes that we've been through so far.